Imagine you have $700 to spend on a wheel. What type of wheel would you buy? Maybe some new tires for your car, maybe a wheel for your bike, maybe for your cool skateboard. Well, what if I told you that Apple, the most valuable company in the world, decided to make $700 wheels for this? Now, Apple isn't stupid. Sure, $700 is super overpriced no matter how you look at it for some wheels on the Mac Pro. But why would they do this? In this video, I will explain the full logic behind this bizarre product. There's also two things that I really like about this strategy from Apple, but also one thing that makes me very scared about where the tech industry is going. First, let's dive into why Apple would make a $700 wheel. So Apple released these wheels back in 2020, and boom, the next day, hundreds of articles and videos are released about it. The release of these wheels caused an immediate media frenzy. Over 100 million YouTube views and 200,000 Twitter mentions on just the first week, as noted in various articles. Now I'm telling you, everybody, all of the popular YouTubers made videos about how expensive this wheel was. And that's just it. With an audacious price tag, Apple managed to get millions of free media exposure. Second, think of the Prada paperclip, Hermes skateboard, Tiffany tin can, the Supreme brick. What do all of these things have in common? This strategy, as detailed by industry experts, revolves around creating scarcity and a narrative that resonates a feeling of exclusivity with customers. In the world of high-end products, it's not just about utility, it's also about statement. As a result, the move enhances Apple's status as a luxury tech brand. Unlike other luxury industries, Apple is in the tech industry, which is incredibly price sensitive. In such a competitive landscape, Apple continues to craft the $329 iPad, which is an amazing deal, and the recent $429 iPhone SE. So if you had $700, you could technically get 4 wheels for an incredibly expensive Mac Pro, or you can spend a little bit extra and both get an iPhone as well as a budget iPad. So I say all of this to say that Apple, despite using these small collectibles and accessories for perking up its luxury brand, they still offer some very affordable choices for their main product line. Or so we hope. Now, I want to talk about 2 reasons why I really like this strategy, and also one reason why this actually really scares me for the tech industry as a whole. So number 1, like I said, these wheels are not really that important in Apple's bottom line, and that's just it. It allows them to take a risk on something that's very low stakes. Now, despite the fact that these wheels aren't offering anything new or they're not something super unique that Apple is trying to test, there have been examples in other industries where companies do this. Take, for example, concept cars in the automobile industry. So this electric hypercar from Porsche aims to be the fastest road car ever with 1500 PS power output and a lightweight body. In addition, Mercedes has a concept car signaling Mercedes' expansion into the EV market. It features a distinctive design with soft curves and sustainable materials inside, along with a hyperscreen infotainment display. I mean, I even see this used in Tesla for when they created the Roadster. In the beginning, the Roadster was a low volume, high cost car, and then they moved to the Model 3, which was medium volume but still pretty expensive, and people started to adopt it more. And then we finally had the Model 3, which is very high volume for them at a much lower cost. Not only does doing something at low volume allow you to experiment, but it can also be a proof of concept so that you can expand further later on. And yes, I know that Apple using these wheels is accomplishing neither of those things, but there has been a new product that is being released by Apple that is doing exactly what I'm talking about. Can you guess what it is? Yes, the Apple Vision Pro. It costs $3,300 and it's their first generation product. I know a lot of people are probably not going to buy this first generation, but they're doing exactly what we're talking about here. Okay, so this is what I'm super scared about for the tech industry. So far, we've talked about items that are a niche category within a company's portfolio. Whether it's the Mac wheels, the concept cars, the Prada paperclip, they're all doing this as a side product, which gives them a lot of publicity and gives them a lot of market exposure. I mean, we don't need to worry about companies having their main product have a massive profit margin above their cost of goods, all while being mass produced and for the companies to make billions of dollars, right? Oh. This is done so much in the fashion industry, and it makes you wonder how they got here where their main product can just be so much more expensive than their cost of goods, and their profit margins are absolutely ridiculous. This is in stark contrast with Apple. Now, even though people complain about the prices, they don't have 1,000% profit margins for their main category of devices. iPhones have maybe a 30 or 40% profit margin. So even though Apple is supposed to be this luxury brand, it's significantly different than what we're talking about in the fashion industry. But then again, if the value of a product is not really based on how much the cost of goods actually is, then what is the value of these products? Well, when we get married, we feel like we need to buy an expensive ring. So the ring doesn't just signify how much the diamond costs, but also the value and significance for us emotionally. In addition, when we reach a milestone, some of us feel like we need to buy a Rolex to commemorate that milestone. So the Rolex is not just about how much the watch costs, but also the emotional value it brings to us for reaching a milestone. We also feel like we might need to get an expensive shirt or an expensive dress to commemorate graduation or to commemorate an accomplishment. Like, it scares me every time when I see kids saving up their entire money bank to like buy these like Celine pants or get this bag that they can't actually afford. And it's just because, in part, of the emotional value they've given to these items, but also decades of marketing that has taught us that, oh, these items are valuable because there is societal value to these things, not necessarily because they're actually this expensive to make. Now, this is super concerning to me because this raises some ethical questions like classism. Some people can afford certain things and other people can't, and it brings people down for people who can't afford these things. We see it in industries beyond fashion. We see it in the airline industry with first class and business class and economic class, and what we do with tourism on vacations that we can afford. There's been so much marketing done that we attach emotional values to things that we can't actually afford. And I know some people are going to be like, these are for profit companies. It's not about any ethical questions for them. But it still scares me that entire industries can turn from making affordable products and making a very well-valued product based on cost of goods and still making money. Don't get me wrong. The profit margin can still be a decent amount based on the amount of work that this company has done, to a luxury industry where it becomes norm for the industry to charge thousands of percentages above the actual cost of goods. Now, I say all of this to say that thank goodness this has not been the case for the tech industry up to this point. Now, I know people complain a lot about the tech industry, but you have to say every single year, new products are released and the pricing is always competitive. There's always people coming up with new startups that compete with the bigger companies, and there's always better priced, more affordable products that you can have. And the key thing is that if I go to the office, or if I go to school with an Android phone, if I go to school with an iPhone, if I go to school with AirPods, or if I go to school with just wired headphones or non-wired headphones, people are not going to judge me for it like they do in the fashion industry or in other industries where there's so much societal value attached to these luxury brands. But I am incredibly scared, especially because of the discourse that I've seen happen in the last 12 months. Nowadays, when I talk to elementary school students, they're like, oh, you don't have an iPhone? Or they're like, how can you use Android? Like, you don't have iMessage? Like, it's just the blue bubbles. Now, I do have an iPhone, but I don't remember ever talking to somebody and being like, oh my gosh, you have an Android phone. How could you have that? Like, right now, I'm super happy that we still have affordable iPhones, affordable iPads, affordable laptops, but we already see pricing ladders, them making it more and more expensive. And it's like right now, they're giving us these affordable things because they want new people to use iPhones and use iPads, and it's like an entry-level product for them. But then eventually, once we get into the ecosystem, it's so freaking hard for us to get out because now I have my Apple Watch, I have my iPhone, I have my laptop, and I have my iPad. It all works seamlessly together. We have the ecosystem, which is perfect. But then I don't want to switch. I don't want to use an Android. I don't want to use a different device. And the walls are getting closer and closer so that I am scared to use a different device and I feel insecure about using a different device. And I think this is great business. It's great for them, but I'm scared of the day that they're not going to create an affordable product because they might reach product saturation and they might be like, you know what? Like, our branding is good enough. We make most of our money in the expensive iPhones and these expensive products, so we don't need to worry about these affordable products that people use. Let's just focus on the more expensive things. We already see it for some individual features that get omitted in the affordable products. And is it because they can't add them to the more affordable product lines? No, it's not because of these cost of goods. It's because they want to create the separatism and classism along these pricing ladders to encourage us to spend more and more. Anyways, sorry about the long rant. This is what I'm scared about for the tech industry as a whole. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope we still have affordable products. But yeah, if this happens, what turned into a simple wheel for marketing purposes might turn into something much scarier for the tech industry.